Hello again and welcome to another session with the Cyber Professor. Today we will be talking about Windows Encrypting File System or EFS. What is Encrypting File System? Microsoft Encrypting File System or EFS is a powerful tool for encrypting files and folders on servers and client computers. EFS helps secure confidential information that should not be disclosed without authorization. By doing so, EFS supports the confidentiality aspect of the CIA security triad. The CIA security triad being the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your data. With EFS, you can protect your business information even in the event that somebody gains control of the physical hardware where your data resides. The way that EFS works in technical terms is as follows. EFS creates a unique key that uses a combination of the server's credentials and the user's credentials. When you first apply EFS to a folder, any files that are created in that folder or moved into that folder are encrypted, and only you and the recovery agent are given the access to encrypt or decrypt the file. EFS utilizes what is called symmetric encryption algorithm. The same key is used to encrypt and decrypt your data. The key that is stored in the same file that is being encrypted is being kept secure by EFS with the use of certificates to encrypt the key. Without user certificates, no one can access the encrypted data. That is why it is essential for you to back up your user certificates and recovery keys before you use EFS to encrypt anything on your computer or the server in a production environment. Once you have backed up these certificates, you can encrypt folders and files either directly or using group policy. EFS encrypts individual files or folders, and that is a major difference with BitLocker. BitLocker encrypts an entire volume. So now we get into the description of the virtual lab that we are going to use to demonstrate the capabilities of EFS. First, we have our server that is playing the role of a domain controller. DC1 is the name of the server and is running Windows Server 2012 R2 as the operating system. The IP configuration for that server is depicted here in this diagram. Next, we move to the workstation that we need to deploy in order to test the capabilities of Windows EFS. And the workstation will be named Client 1. It will be running Windows 10 Enterprise Evaluation Edition as its operating system. The IP information is depicted in the diagram that you are seeing now. It is important for you to get a screenshot of the IP information that I am displaying here for the workstation that we will be setting up as a new virtual machine in our virtual lab. Again, we are still utilizing the Oracle VirtualBox as the hypervisor type 2 environment that we are setting up for this demonstration. As a reminder, we have already deployed the domain controller, DC1, with the following configuration. The domain information is listed here. Again, it is a good idea for you to take a screenshot of this view so you can get all the settings for the virtual lab setup that we have created. A couple of reminders before we get into the actual hands-on exercise. Some of the tips for the Windows 10 virtual machine that you will be deploying as part of this lab. The workstation name that you're creating is Client 1. The Windows operating system that you're going to use is Windows 10 Enterprise Edition. You can download the Windows 10 Enterprise Edition evaluation copy from the Microsoft Evaluation Center website, which is the one that you have already utilized to get the ISO files for your Windows servers. The IP information, the subnet mask, and everything else is depicted here. Now, as a reminder, we mentioned that within Oracle VirtualBox, we need to go under the network settings for the virtual machine that we create. In this case, since this is a new virtual machine, the Windows 10 device that we are creating, we need to follow the same steps and go under the network settings for the virtual machine as displayed on this screenshot, and then switch from the NAT default network setup for the virtual machine to the bridge adapter, which is highlighted in yellow. That is reminder number 1. Reminder number 2. When you are creating the storage for your new virtual machine that will be running Windows 10, you need to select at least 16 gigabytes of storage space for your virtual hard disk. This is a requirement. Otherwise, when you get to this screen, which is showing the installation of Windows 10 on your new virtual machine, you will see that you cannot install Windows on the drive that has an allocation of less than 16 gigabytes. So it is important to use 16 gigabytes as the bare minimum for your Windows 10 device. You can still utilize dynamically allocated storage space. Once you get to this screen, you will be able to click on Next if you have followed instructions and set aside 16 gigabytes of storage space. Third reminder, number 3. When you get to the final steps of your Windows 10 installation on your new virtual machine, you're going to be prompted to select an account to sign in to Microsoft Windows 10. Do not use a work or a school account as prompted by the installation wizard. What you need to do is attempt to use a personal email account. In the example that I am showing, I am using my Outlook personal account. And when you do that and hit enter, the response that the system will give you is that this doesn't look like a work or school email address. Use another email address or set up Windows with a local account. I need you to click on Set up Windows with a local account. Once you do that, you're going to be given the option to create a local user on your Windows 10 device. At that point, you can use any name you want as long as you record the name and save it, because you're going to need it for logging on to your new Windows device. So in my example, I am using the name for the user local user. The next prompt will ask me to enter a password or create a password for that user. Make sure that you save the username and the password for the account that you will be using to log on locally to your Windows 10 virtual machine. So that is enough for the reminders, and now we get into the actual lab environment that we have set up. Again, this is the Oracle VirtualBox Hypervisor Type 2 environment that we are utilizing. And first we need to get into the domain controller. So this is the domain controller on the left. We are going to log in to the domain controller to make sure that you have the opportunity to take a look at what we have set up on the domain controller. So this is DC1. We already have this domain controller set up from our previous exercises. What I need you to do is click on Tools and then go to Active Directory Users and Computers. When you access Active Directory Users and Computers, you will be creating 2 new users by the name of your first name and a number. So in your case, it may be Mike1 as the first user and Mike2 as the second user. In my case, I already created 2 users by the names of Jorge2 and Jorge3. What I want to do is create Jorge1 as a demonstration for you on how to create the users. You right click on the users folder and then select New User and type in Jorge1. No need for initials or last name, as long as you select the logon name of Jorge1, you will be fine. Of course, you're going to replace the Jorge with your own first name, and then click on next. For the password, just make sure that you use a password that you can remember, because you will be utilizing this password to log in from the Windows 10 device that we are setting up. Uncheck the user must change password at next logon. There is no need for us to select that. And then click on next. And then click on finish. Jorge1 has been set up. For this exercise, you only need 2 user accounts. In my case, I set up 3, but for you, you only have to set up 2. Jorge1 and Jorge2 will be the only ones that I would need if I were a student. You will need to set up your own accounts, and I need for you to save the screenshots showing those 2 accounts in Active Directory users and computers. Next, you're going to create a security group. And for that, you're going to select users, new, and then go to group. In this case, I already have a security group by the name of Jorge Security Group. So if you were doing this for the first time, you will type in, for the student that is called Mike, Security Group, and then make sure that the group type is selected as security. It has to be a global group, and then click on OK. Since I already have my security group created with my name, I'm going to click on cancel. Once you have your security group set up, I need you to double click on the security group and then select members. Under members, you're going to click on add and type in your first name followed by the number that you selected for your user accounts. In my case, I already selected, I created Jorge1 just now with you as part of this demo. I'm going to click on check names, and the system will find the newly created account, Jorge1. And I am going to make that account a member of the security group by the name of Jorge Security Group. So I'm going to click on OK. Now that I have Jorge1, Jorge2, and Jorge3 in the security group that I have created, then I am all set. I'm going to click on apply and then OK. For you, you will have to select 2 user accounts. Your first user account, for example, Mike1, and your second user account, for example, Mike2, as members of the security group, which will have your name as well. Those 2 accounts need to be members of the security group that you are selecting. Next, we are going to minimize this window, and we are going to go to the server manager for the domain controller. You see the file and storage services on the left, and go under shares. You will be creating a new share, and the way to do it is you're going to click on tasks and then select new share. When you do that, you're going to go with the default of the SMB share quick and then click on next. Here you're going to select the server which will house the share that you are creating. In my case, it is DC1, the domain controller 1 that I am using. It will have to be created in the only volume that I have on this server, which is the C drive. So I'm going to click on next. Here you're going to select the share name. I have already created a share for this exercise, and that is the one that you see here listed in second place on the list, and that is the EFS server share. So if I were to create this share for the first time, I will be typing the share name as EFS server share, and that is the share that you see right here. And then you will continue by clicking on next and then create. I am not going to follow the full creation of the share because I already created one for you. I'm going to click on cancel. If you take a look at this share, the one that I am pointing at, EFS server share, which was previously created, but I already demonstrated to you how to create it as part of the process. you can go to properties and take a look at the permissions for that share. When you are creating your share, you need to give permissions to the security group that you just created a few moments ago. And it is enough for you to select the read and execute settings for the access rights for that security group. Then you're going to click on OK, and you have finalized the creation of the share. Now we are going to move to the Windows 10 virtual machine that we have created. And for that, we will need to log on to the Windows 10 virtual machine. As you may recall, I asked you to set up a local user account on your Windows 10 virtual machine. The one that I created is named local user. I'm going to log in with the local user account that I created during the Windows 10 installation. Windows 10 is logging me in for the first time, and I am going to show you a few steps that you need to perform in order to get the computer or the virtual machine ready to join the domain. Now, the domain that you will be joining is the one that is housed in DC1, your domain controller. The domain settings, again, were presented in the PowerPoint slide that I showed you a few minutes ago. So here you have your Windows 10 device logging on for the first time using the local account that you created. I need you to make sure that you check the IP settings for this virtual machine before you attempt to join the virtual machine to the domain. And for that, you will need to type in Ethernet in the search window. You go to the Ethernet settings for your Windows 10 device, and you're going to go to the Change Adapter options. You're going to see the Ethernet network card displayed. You're going to right-click and select Properties. And here you're going to select the Internet Protocol version 4, TCP/IP v4, and click on Properties. As you can see, the default setting is for your computer to obtain an IP address automatically that is called DHCP. So the IP address will be obtained from a DHCP server. In my case, what I need to do is I need to set up this Windows 10 device with a static IP address. So I will change this to use the following IP address. Now, you may ask what IP address I will be using, and I need to revert back to the PowerPoint presentation that I showed you earlier. The IP settings are listed here, and those are the ones that you will need to use for your Windows 10 virtual machine. In my case, I'm going to use 10.0.0.6. The subnet mask is the one that is given to me by default. Here I'm going to select 10.0.0. Let me just make sure that I get the right one. For the gateway, we are going to use 1. And for the DNS server, we are going to use 10.0.0.2. 10.0.0.2 is the domain controller, and that is a reminder for you guys. So we are going to utilize the settings or the IP address of the domain controller as our DNS server. We are going to click on OK and then close. So now we are making sure that your newly created Windows 10 virtual machine resides on the same network as the one that is used for the domain controller on the left. Once you do that, and you have your virtual machine settings pointing to the bridge network card, you should be in a position to attempt to join the domain. So here what we are going to do is we are going to use settings. We're going to look for settings in the search window, and then once we get to settings, we are going to click on system. Once you get to system, we are going to go to about. And let me maximize this to make it easier for you guys to see. Once you click on about, you're going to select Advanced System Settings. Once you do that, the System Properties window will come up. Go to Computer Name, and we are going to do a couple of things here. We are going to change the computer name to client 1, and we are going to make this computer a member of a domain. And the domain, if you guessed it already, will be the one that is depicted in my PowerPoint slide from before, and that is cyberlab.com for the domain name. And then we are going to click on OK. Once we click on OK, the system will be looking for the domain controller for that domain. It found it, and now it is asking me for the credentials to be used to connect to that domain or join that domain, the cyberlab.com domain. So here we are going to use the administrator account, and we are going to type in the password for the administrator account. Again, that is the administrator account that you use to set up your domain controller. Here we're going to click on OK, and after a few seconds you're going to be welcome to the cyberlab.com domain. We click on OK, we click on OK, and most likely you will be prompted to reboot your Windows 10 computer. And here there is no need for you to worry, at least not for now. Click on OK, we click on close. And here we are going to reboot this system. So your Windows 10 device is rebooting. By the time you log into your Windows 10 device again, you should be able to view the connectivity to the cyberlab.com domain, and we are going to test that as our next step. In the meantime, let me switch back to the domain controller, and let me go to the Windows Explorer folder and go to the C drive. And if you take a look at shares, the shares folder in the C drive, we have the EFS server share that we created earlier. So we are going to make sure that we delete this folder. We don't need it for now, and this EFS server share is empty. So now we are going to log into the Windows 10 virtual machine for the first time after we join the domain. So in this case, we are going to do the local account first. We are logging on to the Windows 10 virtual machine, the newly created Windows 10 virtual machine. We are going to verify if the joining of the domain was successful. And we are going to type in here settings. And then if you recall, we have to go to the system option within settings. And then we need to go to the about. And after you go to about, you need to go to advanced system settings and then go to computer name. And long and behold, we were able to join this computer to the cyberlab.com domain. You see the new computer name being client 1, which is the one that we had pre-selected as part of the PowerPoint slide presentation. We also have the domain being cyberlab.com. So everything seems to be working fine thus far. So what we will have to do is we will need to change the user that is logged on to this computer. So we are going to sign out. And now we are going to sign in using a different account. So we are going to click on other user. Now guess what user we are going to use? We're going to use Jorge1 as the first user to log in to this system. Now, as you may recall, Jorge1 was created in the Active Directory users and computers window. So Jorge1 is not a local account on this Windows 10 device. It is considered a domain account. So we are actually utilizing a domain account to log into this Windows 10 device. Lo and behold, you can see that Windows 10 is recognizing this user as a brand new user. This user has never logged on to this device before. That is why it is taking a few seconds, perhaps a few minutes, depending on the speed of your computer, to have a full desktop displayed for this user. So you just need to be patient and wait for the full desktop to be displayed to you in the form of the Windows 10 desktop. So we are going to get this a little bit smaller, this window smaller for our view. And wait for Windows to be ready for us. In the meantime, I need to show you the fact that this user Jorge1 that I use to log into this Windows 10 device, this user resides in the domain, is not a local user on the Windows 10 computer. So now I am utilizing a user account that was created by the administrator of the domain. So the administrator of the domain created a user by the name of Jorge1, and that user is the one that is logging on to the Windows 10 virtual machine on the right. Now, how does that translate into real life situations? When you come in to work for a new company, what the Windows Server Administrator at that company is responsible for is to create your user account so you as a new employee of that company can log in to any computer in that company and have the access to the network. In order to do that, the administrator will be creating a user account in the Active Directory domain, which is the step that we completed here on the left. So now you know how your user account is created by the company that you are coming to work for. The server administrator is the one creating the account for you. So now that Jorge1 is logged into the Windows 10 computer, here on the right, what we are going to do is we are going to open File Explorer. Let's see if we can get Explorer. Oh, there you go. This one is easier. So we are going to open Windows Explorer, and we are going to go to the C drive, and we are going to create a folder, and we are going to name this EFS local folder. Within the EFS local folder, we are going to create a file by the name of, and this will be a text file, EFS Jorge1 local file. And then we are going to open the file and type, this is a test of the local file for Jorge1. Make sure that you take screenshots of your work. We are going to save this text file, and now that we have saved it, we moved up one level and we are back to the C drive. We are going to right click on the EFS local folder and select properties. Once we do that, we are going to click on Advanced, and then we are going to test the capabilities of Windows Encrypting File System, EFS, and we are going to select Encrypt the contents to secure data. We are going to click on OK, and then we're going to click on Apply. This confirmation window will come up asking us, do you want to apply these changes to these folders, subfolders, and files? That is the default. We go with the default. We say OK. It is applying the encryption to that folder. We click on OK. And now this folder is encrypted. If you open the folder, you see a yellow lock next to the file that is already part of this folder, the one that we created a few seconds ago. So this file is available to me because I am logged in as Jorge1 to this Windows 10 device. So this is a file that I created as Jorge1. So the file is fully available to me. Now, one more thing that I want to show you is the following. So if you go to this folder again, EFS local folder, and select properties, if you go to advanced and then details, take a look at this because this will make a lot of sense for you. During the explanation of EFS, we mentioned the following, and this is an important concept. EFS creates a unique key that uses a combination of the server's credentials and the user's credentials. And this is important the second important concept that I need you to remember. The key is stored in the same file that is being encrypted. However, to keep it secure, EFS uses user certificates to encrypt the key. Without the user certificate, no one can access the encrypted data. So bringing the concept back to life and to reality, now we are taking a look at an implementation of local encryption on this Windows 10 computer. And by local, I mean we are saving the document in the C drive of the local Windows 10 computer. And we are utilizing a certificate to encrypt the data. Remember the definition that we just read in the PowerPoint slide. So we are utilizing a certificate, and this is the certificate thumbprint that is depicted as part of the encryption for the folder that we just created a few minutes ago. So this certificate can be seen as well if you, again, on the same Windows 10 virtual machine, if you type in MMC under the search window and then open MMC, you're going to see that you can add a snap-in, and we are going to add the certificates snap-in here. We click on add and then click on OK. If you see the certificates and you go under the personal folders and the certificates subfolder right here, you're going to see Jorge1 has a personal certificate. You double click on the personal certificate and go under details. And before we go to details, take a look at this. This certificate is intended for the following purposes. Allows data on disk to be encrypted. So this is the certificate that we were talking about in the PowerPoint slide. And now, if you go to details and you take a look at the thumbprint for this certificate, you see 1DF4D60 as the first few numbers of the thumbprint. Now these numbers should match this thumbprint that you have here, and it does. 1DF4D6, 1DF4D6. So this view of this window we got here from just right-clicking on the EFS local folder, going to properties, then going to advanced, and then going to details, and taking a look at the certificate thumbprint for that folder. This is the view that I had already open a few seconds ago. And if you verify that with your certificate that is displayed under the MMC console, you will see that it is the same thumbprint. So that is proving to you that the concept came to life in this actual real-life demo. So that is covering the encryption on a local hard drive. Now we haven't touched the server yet, even though the configuration was performed for the users at the server level. But before we move to the server level, let us do the following. Let us log off from this Windows 10 device. We log off Jorge1. We are going to sign out. And we are going to log into the same Windows 10 device using a different account. In this case, it will be Jorge2. and Jorge 2 will try to log into this Windows 10 device. I believe I already logged on to this Windows 10 device with Jorge 2, but if not, you're going to see that Windows is recognizing this account for the first time, so it's going to take a few seconds. So the test that we are going to conduct next is we are going to try to open the document that was created by Jorge 1 while logged on to the Windows 10 computer with Jorge 2 as the user account. So it is a complete different user that now is trying to access the file that was created by the user that previously logged on to that computer. However, the file is encrypted, so the second user, Jorge 2, shouldn't be able to view the content of that file because it was encrypted utilizing Windows EFS. So let us see if we can get that to work. It's going to take a few seconds while we are allowed to get into the Windows 10 desktop, and this is taking some time because Jorge 2 has not logged on to Windows 10 to this Windows 10 virtual machine before. So it is going through the process of configuring the user profile on the Windows 10 device. In the meantime, let's see. Another reminder that I want to make sure that I highlight to your attention. So the CIA security triad is an important concept that you need to understand not only for this course but moving forward throughout your career. The CIA security triad is one of the pillars of security for any company. Whenever you're dealing with company information, the goal is to protect company data. And the company data needs to be protected as far as the confidentiality, meaning only authorized users are able to see the information or the data that resides on company property. Integrity, that means the data cannot be manipulated or changed unless there is an authorization given by the owner of the data. So we need to keep an eye and protect the integrity of the data. And the availability, meaning when the employees or when the company requires access to the data must be available to employees. Many times servers are down and employees don't have access to data. So that is a compromise to the availability of the data. So that is why redundancy and backups are important components of security in the CIA triad. So now we are back to the Windows 10 device that we are using for this demo. We were able to log in using the Jorge 2 account. So now we are going to open File Explorer, and we are going to go to the C drive and identify the EFS local folder that we created under Jorge 1. And we are going to double click on that. As you can see, the EFS Jorge 1 local file is still here, and Jorge 2, the second user, is able to see the file, meaning open the folder and see the file listed in the folder. But watch what is going to happen when Jorge 2 tries to open the file. An error message will come up saying you do not have permission to open this file. Why? Because it has been encrypted utilizing EFS. So that is an actual demo of the capabilities of EFS at the local level, meaning at the client or workstation level. So now we are going to move to the server level, and by that I mean we are going to save something on the server on DC1, not on the hard drive of this computer Windows 10. So we are going to have to map a drive. So we go to View, and let's see, actually we go to Home, Easy Access, Map as Drive, and we are going to map DC1. And here we need to get the share name, and the share name can be obtained from the domain controller. So the share name that we have created is EFS server share, and that is the one that we need to type in the Windows 10 device. So here we are going to type in EFS server share, and then we need to click on finish. And there you go, you are able to access the share on the server. This location that open up is the server domain controller 1 DC1. It is not a folder on the local computer. You are actually accessing the server. So here we are going to create a folder. Remember, we are logged in as Jorge2, so it's going to be test folder server share Jorge2, and we are going to open that folder and create a text file, and here it is going to be Jorge2 server share test, and here we are going to type in this is a test. And again, you need to save screenshots. We're going to click on save, and now we are going to go back to the server share level, and we are going to right click on the test folder that we just created. We're going to select properties. By now you should know what I will be doing here. I will be clicking on advanced and then encrypt the content to secure the data. Click on OK, click on apply. We are going to accept the default to apply this change to subfolders and files. We're going to click on OK and OK. If you open this folder again, you're going to see the yellow lock display right next to the name of the file that we created a few seconds ago. So now you can see that I created this file. I am able to open the file because I am still logged on as Jorge2. Remember, we switched to Jorge2 as the user that is logged on to this Windows 10 device. But now we are going to test what happens if Jorge1 is trying to access this folder, this file that is saved on the server, not on the local computer, on the server. So we are going to sign out as Jorge2, and we are going to try to sign in as Jorge1. So we are going to go to other user, and here we are going to select Jorge1. The password will be the password that you created. And it shouldn't take that long because Jorge1 already logged on to this Windows 10 device before. So it will take only a few seconds for us to get the Windows 10 desktop displayed for us. And there you go. Now we need to open File Explorer, and we need to map a drive. So we are going to go to Home, Home, Easy Access, and Map as Drive. And we are going to type in the server name is DC1, and the share, I always forget the name of the share, so we are going to use EFS server share. So EFS server share, and then click on finish. And now we are connected to the share with the Jorge1 credentials. It's opening up. Let's see. There you go. So we are in on the EFS server share using the Jorge1 user account. And now we are going to try to open the file that was created by Jorge2. So we double click on the folder. Yes, we have access to the folder because you remember we gave security permissions to both accounts to access this folder, this share. But guess what? When we try to open the file that was created by Jorge2, we get the error message that no, You are not allowed to see the file content. So this is another way of proving how EFS works as far as giving confidentiality to the data that you are dealing with. Only the people that are authorized to access the data will be able to see the content of the data. This is protecting the security of the organization that you're working for, and you need to be able to set up all of this infrastructure for them if you are playing the role of a server administrator for that organization. So with this, we are finalizing the review of Windows EFS, and hopefully you are able to capture every single moment that we completed, every single step that we completed in this video. Save as many screenshots as you can from the process, showing specifically the names of the accounts, the names of the folders that you were accessing, and you know the drill. You need to post that information for my review. Thank you very much, and until next time.